going?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's release day.
Yeah, release day.
How you feeling?
Pretty good, actually. I've been waiting for a long time, to be honest. I mean, it's been in the process for a number of years. The thing is, we got caught in the pandemic too, so it slowed things down. But I mean, it's great. Finally, I never thought at some point that I would ever release another record in my life. So that's a great accomplishment, and I'm proud of this album. It's really cool.
Yeah, and so you should be. Like, after all this time, a lot of people might be like a little bit unsure of what to expect from you guys. But this album sounds massive. It sounds really vibrant, really current. It doesn't sound like a band that's lost its edge at all.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Roadmap to redemption. Shall we say it's been a long road?
It's been a long road, indeed. I mean, well, you know, because we had different phases with the band. Obviously, when we started, we were a lot younger, and we had a good ride. I mean, if you think about it, we won the Chambre Spree back in 2001, and that was a big thing for us. You know, that was probably the start of it all. And then after that, when we won that contest, we realized that it was going to be a lot tougher than we expected to, reach the National League as far as being a professional band, and make a career out of this. And we moved to Toronto in 2003, and then because we were told, like, listen, you guys are a good band, but you need a story. What's mobile, you know? And fair enough. Back then, we had some good songs, but I think something was lacking. And when we moved to Toronto, we regrouped and we lived together in a 2-bedroom apartment. And we had one goal, is just to, obviously things were different back then, but we signed a record deal, a big record deal, worldwide record deal, and we were able to, tour the world and have a great time. And we were part of the also the changes of the musical industry. So that was challenging, but I look back fondly, and I'm glad that we were able to do that. I'm glad we're still here today.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get onto this new chapter, when you look back, like, let's assume this new chapter never ever happened. When you look back at your career back in those times, what are the standouts? What are the kind of pinch me moments from when you were touring back then?
Oh, there's a few. Obviously, the night we signed our record deal, because we did a lot of showcases in New York for record labels. And back then we were living in our manager's basement, because we ran out of money when we used to live together in an apartment in Toronto. And then I called my manager, and we were like, maybe we're going to have to move back to Montreal, but we needed to sign the deal, right? And we were so close, and we had a lot of interest from major labels back then. That was really exciting, because that was my dream, because I knew, and I knew how the industry worked, and I was it's pretty impressive when you have Epic Records and Atlantic and all those guys interesting in you and showcasing you and this and that. And when we signed the record deal, we were in Toronto, and we had like everybody from the label. We had our lawyer, and we had everybody was there, and we played that showcase, and we were sitting in a restaurant, and the guy from Interscope Records walked into the restaurant, and my manager said, like, man, that's it. We're signed with Interscope. And the guy said, welcome to Interscope Records. And it was surreal. It was like, oh my God, this is happening. And that was a great moment. But probably my favorite of all is when we toured with Chris Cornell in 2008. We ended up touring with him, and obviously he was one of my musical hero. I always loved Soundgarden. I'm a huge fan, and we ended up touring with him, and I ended up singing with him. That was even better. That was probably the best time ever, because it's a dream come true. You never know what's going to happen, right? We were touring with him, but he was not around a lot. He was there for the shows, never there for sound checks and stuff like that. And I ended up sound checking with his band. They were kind enough to let me sing a few songs with them, and that was enough for me. But at some point, the drummer, we became really good friends, and he said, "Listen, I'm going to ask Chris. Chris likes your band, and I'm going to ask him if you could come and sing a Hunger Strike with us, that Temple of the Dog track that I love."
Yeah.
And I ended up singing the song with him. It was still to this day, when I watch the video, it's tough to realize that it's me up there doing it, and it was incredible.
So, did you sing Eddie Vedder's part?
No, technically I was supposed to, I was told I did the sound check. I did the elevators part, which are not too hard to sing. And I was like, I knew the song. So I was like, that's good, you know. But I think 15 minutes before we went on, the tour manager said, listen, I got to talk to you. I'm like, oh, he's not going to blow this up. And he said, well, Chris is not feeling too well. He was wondering, can you sing his track, his parts? And I'm like, oh, man, I don't know. This is really high. You know, I know my range, but this was a bit of a challenge. And so I went and tried the song with this band backstage, like 10 minutes before we went on, and it worked, but it was really on top of my range. So I was like, oh man, I can't screw this up. You know, he's right there, and that you know, he's great. And I did it in I think it was Hamilton the first time, and then he told me after we sang the song, he's like, man, it was incredible. We're gonna do this the rest of the tour. So it was just amazing, and night after night, and waiting for my moment. They would call me and be like, Matt's going to join us on stage. That was incredible. Yeah, I did it also for my friends, and the time when we grew up together watching SNL or Letterman, and saw those bands on TV. And that was me singing with him. And I thought about all my buddies back in the day that, hey, man, I'm doing this for them too. It was not only for me, but also like, man, it's incredible. You know?
Yeah. Well, you're talking to somebody who actually flew to Madison Square Garden to see Temple of the Dog.
Oh, right on. When he came back in 2016?
Yeah, in 2016. I think it was actually like election day. It was like the day that Trump got elected.
Right,
we were in New York. But yeah, I'm so glad that I got to see Temple of the Dog.
They were pretty awesome when they did that comeback thing. And I saw they played a few cool covers. I mean, they were amazing. And that record, it stood the test of time, and that album is solid. And that song, man, it was, well, man, it's, yeah, I'm so proud I had the chance to do it.
That's amazing. So let's get back onto the new music, because that's what we're here to talk about and to celebrate the fact that you guys are back. Where did this part of your story start? Like the next chapter of Mobile, when did it really start?
Well, it started when I left the band 2010, I think, and it was a bit hard that time because it was difficult for us. We had a grant to make another record, and I walked away. I had enough. I think we were a bit burnt out by everything that happened to us, you know, the touring and problems with certain record companies that we signed with in the US. And at some point, I was just like, we remained friends, all of the guys in the band, because we've known each other for like 35 years, even more. So we remained friends through the years, but Christian had the idea of putting the band back together. So the guys started jamming, and they asked me, do you want to come back? And I was like, I don't know, man. I wasn't sure if I wanted to get back into the mainstream and do music again, because it was, you know, it was tough to just get past it. The good times were good, the bad times were bad. And so Christian convinced me in a way. He said, listen, man, yeah, come home and I'll play some tunes. And I went to his place and play me some demos, and I was like, man, this is too good, you know. I gotta be involved naturally. And he convinced me with the music, to be honest. And it was great because, I mean, we still live in the same town. When we grew up, we all moved from Montreal to this suburb. And Christian's house he bought the house from his parents. My parents still have the house. So I would go see my parents and go to his place, and it's like going back into the past, like, you know, going to his house that I used to go when I was 7 years old and listening to those tunes. And I had just that feeling that it was like, wow, man, he played me certain songs and it was just special. Because I was like, I'm not going to go for this unless I have it like a strong feeling and something that I have to do it. And it happened. And so we started writing. We had no plans or no agenda as far as, are we going to sign a deal or what we're going to do? We just said, let's write some songs. And at some point, I suggested that we should celebrate the 10th anniversary, or Tomorrow Starts Today, our first record. Let's put a show together and see how it feels to rehearse and, you know, the chemistry and whatnot. And we did that. And we played Montreal, sold out show. It was just great, you know. And I was like, okay, then let's see if we can come up with some new music and we can carry on. So we kept writing. And we wrote a lot of songs, probably 50 to 60 ideas, and certain songs that are on the record. I think they were probably the best stuff we ever wrote. So I was like, let's do it. And then we got involved with the manager, and things started rolling. But it was really a question of like, I really wanted to satisfy myself and make sure, like, if I ever put out another record, it has to be really good. and I'm super proud of this one. I think it sounds powerful. It sounds really true, you know, and it's great. I'm super happy about it.
So on your website, and I'm going to quote you here, it says, "This album is a tribute and a reflection of our history, our city, and our past."
Right. Yeah.
Can you expand on that a little bit?
Like I explained earlier, we're from that same town, a suburb of Montreal, a city called Lorraine, and we all grew up together listening to music, and we've known each other for so long. Like every time I would go back to see my parents in the city, for some reason I would listen to the music that Christians sent me, and those feelings came back, right? And why I never talked about this subject in my life. Or I remember one night, the first song on the record, which is called "Come to Where I'm From," he sent me that idea, and I was lying in bed just listening to it, and I was literally in tears. I was, oh my God. And I saw myself driving my bike in the woods, and I was like, why? I don't know why, you know? And I came up with a melody super quick. I went to his place and he said, like, "Do you have an idea?" I said, "I think so," you know. So I took the microphone, I sang the part. Almost what you hear on the record, it's almost a one take thing that I did. And it's Christian and myself, we have that relationship that we don't necessarily talk a lot about certain things. Nowadays we do, but through the music, we always been able to share emotions. And that was the tipping point, I think, when we wrote that song. It was like, oh my God, we got something. And then we kept going and we wrote all these cool songs, and it just felt great. You know, I was happy to go to his place and record. And it was a great achievement. And also our friendship got so much better. And and the fact that it's sort of a tribute to our youth, because we had such a great youth, you know, that city we lived in, we were skateboarding, smoking cigarettes, and we were a tight group. And for some reason, those songs reminded me of that. And now that I'm older and I go back home, I'm a bit of a nostalgic person, obviously, but all those memories came back. And I said, well, and Christian said, "Listen, man, I think you should talk about it. You know, it's a cool story that you got, and you should open yourself more about feelings that you had back then and feelings you have today." And I tried to be more clear with the lyrics I was writing, because it's to put yourself out there and explain everything you've been through or you're going through is not an easy thing sometimes for me. So I did it this time. I think I pushed myself to do it more.
You have to do it for the record, but then if you go off on tour, you have to do it every night. Like, bring those feelings to the surface every night.
Exactly. But if you put yourself into that situation, the thing is that naturally I would drive home and I would remember certain things. And like a song called "Modern Lovers," it's about my sister when somebody broke up with her, and I was young, and I would go to the house and my sister was heartbroken, and I remember that feeling. And I said, well, I'm going to write about it, you know, and I'm going to just invent a story around the real story, and just also so maybe the young people of today can relate to it, because it's called "Modern Lovers" because modern love is cruel, I say in the lyrics, and I think it's still true.
And you still have the skateboards?
Yeah, I still skate. Not as much, but yeah. I love that.
What does success mean to you now?
It's a good question, because I don't expect anything in a way, because I expected so much in the past. You know, obviously, when I started playing music, my only goal was to make it, not to be a star or whatever, to have stardom, but more like also a desperation. That's what I got to do. You know, that's only what I want to do. I don't have a plan B. I want to be playing rock and roll and have a career and tour, and also sing in English, because we're pressured to. Why don't you guys sing in French? And the thing is, I've always been honest with myself and with everybody. Is ever since I started understanding music, I was more touched and influenced by English music. Then I write in English, and I just embrace that more. And it's just a natural thing. It's not I force myself. It just is, you know. When I was younger, my parents would listen a lot to French music, and my sister would be more into, you know, the Smiths and Duran Duran, Police, and I love that more. I was more like, this is what I want to be like those guys. So my idea of success back then was like, man, I want to have a career and tour and live that thing, and we did for a while, and then didn't turn out too good in the end, but still, we had a fairly good run. And today it's more like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I wanted to make sure that record is going to speak for itself. So we just going to put it out, see how people feel about it. And obviously the industry has changed so much, and what young kids listen to these days, it's more pop and hip hop in general. But I'm like, man, listen, I'm just going to put this record out, and I'm going to make sure it's strong and it rings true. So I don't know what's going to happen, to be honest. And now we all have full-time jobs and we have kids, and it changed. But whenever we get together and we play, we're still a very strong unit when we play live. So, I'm confident that we're going to make a good run out of it. But, we'll see.
Yeah. And you said that it's partly a tribute to the city of Montreal. What do you mean by that? Like, how does Montreal play a part in the music?
The suburb, because that was a suburb when we grew up in this town called Lorraine. It's a small suburb, and there was a lot of musicians, and it was a small town. Because I go back there all the time, because my parents were there, and Christian had bought a house there. Pierre, the drummer, has got a house there. I keep going back, and I keep seeing those places, and it reminds me of this and that. And why I never talked about this before on other records, I don't know. For some reason, like, I have to speak about it now, and all those memories came back. And also, I go see my parents, and I still have some stuff at the house, and my dad was like, "Go, you got some stuff you got to go through." And I found a book, right? And a book that I had never seen in years. And there was a lot of drawings and titles and stuff like that. And there was a title called School Closure. I was like, that's a cool title for a song. It reminded me of all that story I've been through. And I wrote the song in my head. I got home, I wrote it. And I was like, is this too personal? It's really revealing, right? And I was like, maybe are people going to care? I don't know, because it's really like you put yourself out there. And I played it for Christian. I was a bit shy when I played for him. And he was like, man, it's crazy. And then for some reason, a lot of people that heard the song was like, wow, that song. I'm like, okay. Because sometimes you feel like this is really personal, but a lot of people can, relate to it. That's sort of a tribute to that town, because that feeling or what we went through as young kids, and that great youth that we had.
Yeah, it's a great closer for the album. That, like, I love the way it ends. It kind of ends on this note of, like, leaving you waiting to find out what comes next.
Exactly.
It doesn't feel like a complete ending. It feels like something's coming after that.
There you go. That's exactly what I tried to do. And, the choir with the kids, it's all our kids singing on the tune.
Nice.
My dad is whistling at some point. You hear a scooter. And so it was that whole image of me being young and putting our kids into, I said, you guys should sing on the track, having the kids, and it's going to be great. So we gathered all our kids, and they sang the song. And the outro, like you mentioned, I wanted to have something instrumental in the end. So you feel like, what's coming next? It's like, it's nostalgic. It's not like a feel good out. It's just, I don't know. It's like the roadmap to redemption, and what it is exactly. It's like, well, it takes a while to finally be happy, I guess, and for the first time in a long time, I can say that I'm a lot happier than I was. So that was the redemption. It took a lot of time, and I'm there now.
Yeah. Now, what can you tell me about what is coming next?
Well, obviously, we're in a position where we want to play more shows, and we'd love to go on tour. I don't know if it's going to be possible, but we're going to try to put a lot of stuff online, and we have special things we want to do, and performance. We want to record the band in certain situations where we're going to film ourselves and do some cool stuff. The thing is, it's going to be a bit difficult to hit the road for a long time now that we all have families and stuff like that and jobs. But I'm just, to be honest, I felt like I want to go with the flow, see what's going to happen, and what kind of reaction we'll get, what kind of buzz we're going to create with this album. So, we'll see. But definitely we're going to play a gig in Montreal on October 13th at the National with that band from Montreal called We Are Monroe. So good band.
Oh, yeah.
Guys, yeah.
Great band.
We're going to play with them, and hopefully, play more gigs. So, we're on to that.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to that. But I just hope that as many people get to hear this album as possible, because it really is a really great achievement, I think, from you guys. So I really enjoyed listening to it. So yeah, I wish you all the best with it. And thanks so much for chatting with me. Been really nice talking to you. And we look forward to seeing you on a stage at some point.
Yeah, definitely. I'll let you know for sure.
All right, you do that.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, man. Have a good weekend.